Welcome back to the channel. All right, today we're going to do a little something different. I'm actually at a listing I have out in Fort Worth, Texas, and we're just going to do a little talking. I've been watching some videos and I want to do more of reactional videos instead of just rants, but also rants included in the videos. So yeah, we're going to touch over some topics. We got this guy, Jack Morgan. He's actually one of my favorite YouTubers right now. He's coming up. I think he's got great content.
Let me get this straight. We can't afford rent because rent prices are increasing so much to push us out to buy homes. But the interest rate is so high, you can't buy a home. And also, you're not going to get funded for a home because of your debt to income ratio. So then what? And then homelessness or houselessness is becoming criminalized. So then what? I don't understand.
When you see videos like that, it can be depressing because in certain degrees, she's not lying. You do have to make quite a bit of money right now if you want to own a home, especially the average price home in DFW around 320, 340, 350. So it can be quite depressing, especially if you're someone that's single and you're wanting to own a home. But I think the perspective about it has to change. It's not as difficult as it seems. As far as what you need, and maybe you've worked your job a few years. If it's self-employed, it's a little different. And of course, I'm not a lender, but they're going to ask you for a few more documents as far as like statements, tax returns. But it's definitely possible. Or maybe group up with some friends or a partner or some buddies, and that is kind of the area and the time that we are at. And don't get me wrong, they say that they want us to own nothing and we'll rent, we'll own nothing and be happy. So if that's the outlook that some of these politicians are speaking upon, maybe it is wise to try to take advantage of trying to become an owner than not in a situation. And because she touches on it, rent is going up and it doesn't seem like it's really slowing down, right? So even if you are someone that's on the outskirts waiting for interest rates and prices to drop, I mean, prices did drop 2 years ago, 30 to 25% in some cases and more in other places. So now we're starting to hit that middle barrier where sellers are not taking any less and there's buyers that are tired of waiting and they're like, you know what, it doesn't seem like prices are getting much lower, so maybe I should strike now, right, when there's fear in the market.
Making it very most people will not be able to afford a house. Obviously, in the last 2 years, housing prices have gone up extremely fast, making it very unaffordable for many people. And even with the market softening, it's actually more unaffordable now with higher interest rates. There are only two ways that it can become more affordable over time. People start making a lot more money, or two, prices just crash and they lower interest rates. I don't see either of those scenarios really happening. They can't lower interest rates and prices go down. That's not how it works. But if I was betting, I would say the wealth gap is going to continue to grow bigger and bigger as time goes on, because that is the trend we have been following. And if that happens, you're going to have a large portion of the wealthy people who own the majority of real estate, and they're going to be renting to everyone else. But the good news is, no matter where you're at today, there's still time to get ahead of this. You can start making the moves to...
And what kind of moves
Yeah,
do you
so
need?
you hear that and you're kind of like, what are the moves that I need to make? It's more or less just trying to get in line. Maybe speak with the lender to get a game plan down. Maybe the lender will tell you, okay, you're 5 months out. Okay, you're 8 months out. Oh, you actually just need to pay this and this, and then you're set to go. I mean, just asking may be the best thing for you, because then you can get an idea of what you really need to do. And that really will give you perspective, right? And let's say you can't afford a home that's 350,000. Well, maybe you can afford a home that's 250,000. There are homes for sale that are 250,000. There's condos for sale for that low, right? Or it can create an opportunity. Maybe it's the time where you learn how to DIY. Maybe you learn how to do certain things, right? And some of these houses that are 250,000 and under, they're livable, okay? They may not be the 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, spoofed out, 2,000 square feet plus. It might be a 3-1, a 2-1, a 2-2, 1,200 square feet, small backyard, or maybe okay backyard, or older home. But there's opportunities for you to change that home into what you want in your life or what you want in your dream home. And at the same time, you'll be paying yourself instead of paying someone else. Yes, yes, your rent will most likely be higher. I'm sorry, your mortgage will most likely be higher, but there's ways to get that down. It's a little more complex than just a simple conversation. This is why I really like with people. This is kind of why I urge people to speak with a lender, to really get an idea on what those finances are and really build a game plan on what you need to truly figure it out. Because just like he said, the large money, they're going to buy when interest rates drop. And they're going to beat you out on offers because they're going to pay cash. It's going to be a stronger offer, quicker close. And then they're going to rent that same home they beat you out on to you. And that's going to be the future, right? Most of these large money asset firms that are buying up homes, they're continuing. Even small investors, they're going to continue once they have the opportunity. Right now, they're slowing down because not many investors are going to buy at 5 to 7 to 8 interest rate. They're just not going to make enough cash flow, especially with taxes and insurance and things like that, unless they win on the buy. But that's a whole nother conversation. I just think the best thing here is to really ask the right questions. Go see somebody that's experienced in the real estate game and start picking out ideas. There might be an area in your town, maybe 25, 35 minutes away from where you want to be, but it could be a good opportunity for you to get yourself in a home before prices escalate, which that seems to be where they're headed.
But check this out. These are people, these are full-blown adults here, okay? And they're going to tell us their mortgage prices. And I still think it's absurd. I still think the price is high. Listen to these numbers.
How much is your house payment?
$2,100 a month.
And how long have you been in your house?
15 years.
Oh, nice.
15 years, $2,100 a month. I don't know. She might have a big piece of land. She might have a big-ass house. But that's still like, I'm still going, come on, man.
$1,150.
Oh my goodness.
That one's
That's
chill.
$1,150.
And how long ago did you buy your house?
It's about 12 years ago.
Is $2,400.
Nice. How long ago did you buy it?
We bought it in, the fall of 2021. And yeah, I think we have something like a 2.5% interest.
So we built our home in 2012 and my mortgage payment is $1,980.
Oh, nice.
She goes, oh, nice.
Well, yeah, if you bought your home 2012 and on, obviously I didn't buy my home then, but what a great opportunity you find yourself in. And kind of a conundrum because it's like, if you want to move, you're most likely going to pay more unless you put a lot down, which you might have the equity to pull from and equity to use since you bought at such a opportunistic time. Then you could get yourself in a home with a little less payment or not as brutal payment, considering what our conditions are. But yeah, some of these people that are paying these 2,100, 1,900s, and they're, you can already tell that the home that they're living in, if you buy that home today, your rent price is not, it's pretty brutal, right? Like, $250,000 home, taxes and insurance added. Of course, it's going to depend on what you get and what you have. If you're trying to buy a home that's $250,000, you're most likely going to be paying around $2,200 to $2,500 a month. And that's, don't quote me on those numbers, but it's pretty outrageous. And that's for a $250,000 house. So they just keep going up. $350,000 house, you're probably going to be paying $3,500. $450,000, you'd probably paying like $4K a month. So that's kind of where we're at, which that is a tough pill to swallow just to put on rent itself. And that's also kind of why you don't want to be at the high end, right? So if you're buying a home, they tell you that you're up to 300,000. Well, up to 300,000 means you're going to be paying more than what you want, most likely, if you end up getting that home, right? It's going to be on the cusp of what you're making. So your lender is providing you that number, I feel, so you don't get to it. But you really want to try to stay a little lower, so that way you can save yourself some dollars. Or if you are going to be more towards the higher end as far as what you can qualify for, right? Your max approval. And again, I'm not a lender, so maybe if you depending on what area you're in, you really want to hire an expert. I'm a real estate agent in DFW, so in my experience, best goal is to try to negotiate the best terms for yourself in the contract situation. So maybe get the seller to pay some of your closing costs, or maybe get the seller to give you a concession to buy down your interest rate. Maybe you buy your interest rate down yourself, depending on how much you saved. Of course, this is going to be a lender conversation because you got to talk about your finances and the best way to execute your goal, right? So you can close at the end of the day. But there are avenues for you to get that mortgage rate a lot lower to help you if you are buying at the higher end, or even if you're just buying a home in general, right? There's a lot of avenues to get certain price points lower.
With this, so you buy a home, right? And okay, it costs a few $100,000, whatever the case may be, right? Okay, get a 30-year fixed rate. You can deduce what that's going to cost you monthly. But what's not taken into account sometimes by some people is the property taxes. What's not taken into account is the upkeep of the house. What's not taken into account are all of those ancillary or additional expenses that come with being a homeowner. Whereas when you rent, you don't necessarily have to worry about those things, but you're not accruing value from something you're renting, whereas with a home, you are. Where do you guys stand on home ownership in the year 2024?
Yeah, I think we should both have it.
I'll say this, because that's a good question. And I think that buying a home is a smart decision, but I think most people go about it the wrong way.
All right.
Whereas, okay, you go and they qualify you for a mortgage, right? And you maximize the amount that you qualify for. That's not really the best way to go about it, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be buying a home that you can't afford, right? So I'll use like an entertainer, for example. A lot of times people don't understand how entertainers or athletes go broke. So let's say an entertainer has $10 million, right? Now, most of the time, what they would do is they have $10 million, instead of buying $1 million home in cash, and they still have $9 million left that they can invest and do other things with, right? They'll buy a $5 million home and put $1 million down. Now they have a $4 million mortgage, right? So now you're paying $100,000 a month. Like you said, the property taxes, if you live in New York or LA, can be $100,000 a year, right? So now you're paying $100,000 a year in property tax. Now you got to upkeep the property, right? You got acres of land, so now you got to pay for shrubbery. You got to pay to cut the grass. That could be another $20,000, $30,000 a month. Then you have to actually decorate the house. Right. That could cost $1 million right there, right? Then you got to have constant upkeep. Now you got to have security. Now you got to have a variety of different things that come into play that you didn't fully consider when you were buying a home, because like I said, a lot of times you might not have ever owned a home. Okay. So what it ends up happening is that, yeah, it appreciates over the course of time, but you're not actually participating in that appreciation until you sell it, or if you have a HELOC or you're taking money out of your home, but most of the time people won't do that, right? So now you're getting into a situation where you bit off more than you can chew.
That's kind of exactly what I'm saying, right? Now, man, I would love to have 10 million to just spend on homes and invest one day, right? But seriously, don't be at the top end, right? Especially if you have 10 million. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor, but there are so many avenues for you to keep your money, right? In certain situations, it could be better for you to take a loan out, right? Or to navigate a situation a little differently, right? Just because you have $1 million or just because you have $10 million doesn't mean you need to pay a mortgage that's like $50K or $20K. Sometimes I see these mortgages and I'm like, sometimes I see mortgages on the MLS or homes for rent. Yeah, sometimes I see homes for rent on the MLS and it's like $10,000 a month, $8,000 a month, $15,000 a month. I'd love to have that type of money, but goodness gracious, I could not imagine spending that much a month on something I don't own, right? But there's different avenues. Maybe you've got a few rental properties. Maybe it's the cash flow so strong that you're like, hey, I can rent this house, not really lose anything. I don't have to worry about utilities and stuff in the house I'm renting. I mean, there's so many avenues when you have so much capital. But what I like about this guy's video is kind of like what I said. Don't be at the top of your budget. Try your best not to. And then if you are, try your best to negotiate the best terms so you can get that mortgage rate down to help you the most. And then, yeah, just like Stephen A. said, there is pretty much constant upkeep. Of course, if you buy an older home, if you buy an older home, there could be a little more upkeep. All homes are going to have maintenance, just depending on where you're at, the weather, and all sorts of things. But if you are ahead of the curve, if you just maintain and, stick to the things you do, make sure you get your home inspections, try to fix what's necessary on that home inspection, just keep your home maintained, the better it will be in the long run. But yeah, when you're out looking at homes, you walk into a home, take a look around, right? You see what you don't like, see what maybe needs to be fixed, see what you can change. Yeah, take a look around, be a little bit nosy, because this is going to be the place that you might reside for a few years. Now, yeah, if you don't like something, you can change it, but just try to save yourself some time and headaches by just doing a little research, right? Like if you walk into a home, the spacing is right, but maybe it doesn't smell right, that could be something you need to do. Clean the air ducts, change the carpet, new paint, things like that. But if the home is still a beautiful home, that could be an opportunity for you. Or if it's a situation where, let's say you're buying an older home and it's pretty much remodeled throughout. They did the plumbing, they did new electrical, foundation's pretty solid, but you notice there's a new roof is needed. That still could be a good opportunity. Speak with a roofer, speak with your inspector, try to get the best idea of how much it would cost to replace this roof, and maybe get the concession on the other end from the seller, because most likely the seller knows. Most likely, especially if it was remodeled by like some investor or some company, they most likely know the roof is in bad condition, or they most likely know just because of their experience in building. So it's all about asking the right questions. Don't get ahead of yourself. Definitely make sure you have a good real estate agent wherever you're at, especially where we're headed, where buyers could have to pay for their buyer's agent, depending on the situation and negotiations. Of course, we'll figure out more in July and June when this starts to get into play. But if you go into a deal without representation, it really could hurt you, because the other agent on the other end most likely is working for that seller 100% fiduciary duty. And their goal is to make the most for their seller and create the best experience for the seller. So if you're going into this not knowing what's going on, it is going to be a struggle, and you could really lose out on certain things, or you could just take it, or you really could just be taken advantage of. So that's one of the things to look out. There is so many things, right? That's why I always tell someone to really ask questions, get a lender, get a real estate agent that's familiar with the market, and kind of drill them. Ask them questions on what you expect so you can get the best idea of what's happening.
The average home buyer needs to make over $110,000 to afford the average home. A new Bankrate study showing that the required salary to make that purchase has jumped 46% in just 4 years.
I had to stop this video a little early because I feel it is quite misleading, but she's not lying to a degree, right? The average home is like 350,000, 400,000, 370, 320. So yeah, that makes sense for you to make that much. But there's a lot of homes that are less than that, right? You can buy a condo, you can buy like maybe a ranch style home. I wouldn't really advise to go the mobile home route, depending on your situation, depending on where you live, but we can dive more into that if that's something you're thinking about.
Home buyers only needed to make $76,000 back in 2020. And the issue, widespread. You now need a six-figure salary to buy the average home in 23 states, including the District of Columbia. 4 years ago, that number was just 6. Mortgage rates, of course, have played a small role in the bump, but home prices have, by and large, kept pace with the needed salary to buy them. The average home up 42%, sitting at $412,000. Now, even though the housing market may be pricing people out, people shouldn't be too quick to think that renting is the solution. Since President Biden took office, rents are up nearly 21%.
But there are many homes less than that. You really want to speak with a lender, because they're the ones that do the finances, and they're the ones that are going to possibly offer you the loan, right? So don't just hear news and just think bad, because sometimes they're trying to create a narrative, right? And in my humblest opinion, the narrative they're trying to create is fear. So, and the people that understand what's going on in the real estate market, or at least have an idea or have some experience, they don't have fear. And in most cases, the time to buy is when no one else wants to buy. I know that sounds crazy, but that's typically how it works. All right, last video I'm going to leave you with is a video I thought was super funny. Just because this is just so Texas, and I don't mind things like this, right? We want people to be we want people to be citizens if they're buying property, especially if they're buying it for nefarious reasons. Doesn't matter the race. We definitely want Americans buying buying homes and buying land where we live. But I'm gonna leave you with this one.
You're not buying any here.
Texas Republicans moving to ban people from buying property if they come from certain countries. Brenham Republican Lois Kolkhorst filed legislation to cut off Texas real estate to citizens of China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. It's a move Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller says is overdue.
If they really want to assimilate and be part of the American dream, become a citizen. Until you're a citizen, no, you don't get it. You're a threat to our...
If you made it this far, I really appreciate you watching. Drop a like, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Is the American dream dead? Are you going to buy a home? Do you think it's worth it, right? Where you live, depending on where you live. If you need help, shoot me a text, give me a call. My information is basically public, being a real estate agent. But yeah, my name's Trevon. I work with Century 21 Mike Bowman. We're the #1 Century 21 office in the state of Texas. So we're here to help people out and at least provide the best information we possibly can. So don't get lost, man. Stay positive. Don't believe in all the FOMO. There's a lot of opportunity out there. Okay, maybe start small, work your way on up, right? What happened in 2020? What happened in 2021? People who owned homes, some of their lives got changed. Some of them doubled their money, right? I'm not saying that this is going to happen in the future, but what is history? What has history told us? What has history told us? History has told us that owning a home could be the best or one of the best ways to gain wealth in this limited time we have on this earth. Maybe you don't get the wealth yourself, but maybe you give the wealth to your children, grandkids. Let me know if you like this type of content. I'll do more videos like it if you do. Shout out to Jack, because he's kind of the one giving me the inspiration on doing these types of videos and just trying to get content out there. Really like what he's doing out there. And yeah, man, we're just trying to get more people the positive information, especially, I guess, more people my age and younger. But don't have so much fear. Great opportunities are out there, and stay blessed. All right, till next time.